Good morning, Nevada, and welcome to the Allyn Root Show, the early edition. I'm Derek Uehara, joining you for this upcoming hour. Wayne will be with you at 11 o'clock. So today we've got a great guest on. He is a former New York City fireman, and he was there at 9/11. He'll be sharing his experience on what happened 19 years ago and talk about what they're doing tomorrow there. So today we're really excited to have P.J. Schrantz with us. He is former New York City fireman. He was there on that day on 9/11, 19 years ago. So we're going to talk about what happened that day. He's got an interesting history in addition to that, and we'll learn about that. We also want to learn about what he'll be doing tomorrow and what he'll be doing going forward. So 19 years ago, like everyone else, and with these events, you remember what happened. I got to work. It was 6:15 a.m. and trying to wake up, standing at the elevator. One of my colleagues came up. I saw her. We smiled, and she says, "It's going to be an interesting day, huh?" And everything needs context. So I had not seen the news at 6:15 in the morning yet. I took everything to be there, and I said, "Yeah, sure," not knowing what she was referring to. We go up the elevator to the 12th floor, come out, and I see a bunch of my colleagues gathered on the TV. I say, "Hey, what's going on?" And one of them turned around at me and said, You didn't know?" I looked at the screen and I saw what had happened. And of course, like everyone else, as the day unfolded, you realize just how much of an event this was. So that was what happened to me 19 years ago. But PJ was actually there. So let's welcome him right now. PJ, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Derek. I'm just listening in, and I'm so happy for this opportunity. Very appreciative.
Well, we're so glad to have you to share your experience back then, since then, and going forward. PJ, you're doing some great things. So why don't we start with that? So we'll start with what happened 19 years ago. Then we do want to talk about your interesting history, and then we'll finish up by talking about the great thing you're doing tomorrow, and the work to support the families of those that were affected 19 years ago. But tell us what happened. Let's go back 19 years. So it's September the 11th. What were you doing, and what happened, and how did things unfold for you?
Well, I'll just tell you this. I mean, I'm getting emotional right now, and it's 19 years later. Truly, I'll never forget. I was actually, not working. I was down in Jersey, and like everyone else, watching the TV. And when the first plane hit, just my gut told me that, we were under attack of some sort, because if you remember back in 1993, when they first tried to take the towers down, mm-hmm. My firehouse is right across in Brooklyn, and we responded back then. Wow. So, planes just don't crash into the towers. I started getting a little antsy. At that time, I was home. My firstborn son, Dustin, was 3 years old at the time. He was battling leukemia. And, so I knew that he'd be going for chemotherapy within a few days. And I knew that I had to go. I just knew I had to go. And I remember leaving my house. I grabbed my stuff and I hopped in my car. And my daughter, Dakota, who was 7 at the time, she looked at me and said, "Dad, where are you going?" She just knew that something was wrong, even at 7, because my wife at the time, she was shaken up. Everyone, you just felt it. And I said, "Listen, Daddy's just going to help the people down there. I'm going to go cook." And she looked at me, and I'll never forget, at 7 years old, she said, "No, you're not." And I went down there like every other first responder, retired guy.
How long was the drive for you, PJ, from your home to the site?
Well, I'll tell you what. When I hopped on a Garden State, I had my fire helmet with me, too, and my turnout gear. Uh-huh. So I just ripped as far as I could until it became stopped. You know what I mean? Like, by the time I got close, even to the Verrazano Bridge, or the Outer Bridge crossing, they were preventing traffic, and I just was showing my ID and my helmet, and they were waving me through, and I'd go on the side of the road or whatever it took to get there. And I remember by the time I got to the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, the buildings were down. They weren't. There was nobody going through there. But once again, I showed my helmet, my ID, and they let me go through. And I remember, I'm telling you right now, I remember distinctively. I'm going through the tunnel, and I had a Jeep at the time. I had my doors off because it was beautiful September. Doors off, top down, and I went through the tunnel, and I couldn't see 10 feet in front of me, and I literally was praying to God, like, please, don't take me here. Let me get to the other side.
When you say you couldn't see, was that because of smoke?
Oh yeah, it was that cloud. It wasn't I wouldn't consider it smoke. It was that cloud of dust that ended up, when it hit the ground, was like, anywhere from a foot to 2 foot deep, and at some points. And and I got to the other side, and it was complete chaos. It was just complete chaos.
What obviously looking back, we know the full extent, but at that moment, what were you thinking about what had happened and what the situation really was?
Well, honestly, my thoughts were this. I went, and it's total destruction, but I ran towards, it was debris. It wasn't going towards the towers. They had come down, and my concern was looking to see where my firehouse would have been, where they are, the guys from my firehouse. And I remember passing a guy who was once a member of my firehouse and ended up going to a rescue company, and I ran by him, and he just shook his head like no idea. I'm talking like complete chaos at the time. You know what I mean? It was insanity, and no cell phone service. So here it is. I'm down there. I have my son dying of cancer at home, and my wife's wondering what the heck is going on. Just watching the news, and I was down there for 8 days, and there, you don't know what's being said on the news. You're just doing your job, trying to clean up, hopefully find survivors at least for the first several days. And what I remember most of all, and I have to say this because this has to do with the country the way it sits today, divided, and it's so heartbreaking. And I'm going to get emotional. You're going to have to forgive me.
No, PJ, we're going to have to take a break. But when we come back, you tell us about that, okay? We'll be back with PJ Schrantz right after this.
Broadcasting live from Las Vegas, this is the Wayne Allyn Root Show, the early edition. Now, here's Wayne Allyn Root.
All right, we're back. Welcome back to the Wayne Allyn Root Show, the early edition. This is Derek Uehara. And our guest today is PJ Schrantz, former New York City fireman. And we're talking about what happened 19 years ago tomorrow. He saw what happened on TV, raced out, drove to the site. And PJ, when we left off here, you were going to say something about the country.
Yes, very important during these times, these trying times. And, we could talk about, trust me when I tell you, yes, I was there. I am furthest thing from a hero. There were 343 New York City firemen that were killed that day, lost their lives. They weren't killed. They lost their lives that day. Heroes. Dozens of New York City police officers that lost their lives. Heroes. I could only imagine the countless people that were working in the towers that could have ran out, but they didn't. They stayed behind probably to help others who had lost their lives. They were heroes. But what I'd like to talk about, because that everyone knows about that. But I'd love to talk about the unity. And I don't know if it was on the 12th or the 13th. Like I said, I was there for days, hadn't showered. And I remember I was limping. I was taking a walk, and I just wanted to clear my head. And I walked, and I guess I was walking in the direction of Chinatown in New York City, several blocks away from wherever the people were finally allowed in the street, the people that lived there. And I remember walking past a young Chinese couple, and they had a daughter, and maybe she was 5, 7 years old, and they had a cooler of water, bottles of water, and the daughter was just handing out bottles of water, and the parents were saying, just all they were saying was thank you, and I remember seeing a rickshaw bike guy, and he was just offering rides to first responders, and I remember the unity.
Yes.
Mayor Giuliani, America's mayor, gave us all strength and hope, and he unified our country. And today we're so divided, and it's horrible. That we need never forget. We need to never forget, because the millennials, like my daughter who was 7 is now 27. She doesn't really have memories of it, but every once a year she sees something on the news and she'll see pictures. But my daughter knows because I inform her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need to do that to the younger, to the millennials. You know, they're the ones, it appears to me, in my humble opinion, that they're losing sight of that. They're losing sight of what a great nation we are.
Right.
Well,
that's why we're so honored to have you, PJ, and we're so happy about what you're doing. You know, traditionally, every year they read the names off in New York, and I know Mayor de Blasio canceled that. But you're doing something tomorrow, and in fact, the way we connected, our mutual friend David Falmagong, right, had reached out to my wife and said, "Hey, would you like to read one of the names of the victims?" And so she was so honored to do that, and because of that, we got connected with you. So we thank David for reaching out and connecting us to your Unity theme. David's out there doing that. But tell us what you got going for tomorrow, because you've been working very hard on this.
Well, me and my partner, John Leggy, you know, we are co-founders of a company, United First Responders Brands Incorporated. And a while back, we decided, because we want to unify the country, okay? And we're two guys. One lives in California, my partner, John. He's a tech guy. You know, he's very intelligent technology whiz, actually. And me, I'm like the bull in the China closet, Army veteran, 9/11 first responder on the East Coast. And you wouldn't think that the two of us, if you saw us out at a restaurant or a bar, say, these guys could never hang out. But what we do is we share the love of God, family, and country. So what we did was, at first, we started a Unity wristband challenge, these little simple yellow wristbands. I used to wear one that Lance Armstrong had for Live Strong to honor my son. So I said, John, we could help unify the country. Believe it or not, we'll sell these wristbands on our website, and we'll raise money for worthy 9/11 first responder and even worthy social justice causes. I said, let's unify the country. You know, so people would go to our website, americastrongusa.org, and they'd buy a wristband, and the premise behind it was, instead of buying just one, buy a second one and gift the second one to your COVID-19 hero, first responder, frontline worker, essential worker, whoever that is. And now all of a sudden, as we're chugging along with this, you know, our mission of unifying the country, Mayor Bill de Blasio in New York City decides to not let the annual readings of the names of the 2,977 victims killed on 9/11 from taking place at Ground Zero. And I saw red. To me, it's political, and that wasn't going to fly. So what I did was I reached out to some friends of mine, one in particular, Julio Gonzalez. He is the CEO of Engineered Tax Services, and, you know, he's got a Rolodex. And I knew that if I wanted to get this done, I'd have to reach out to him, and we'd have to, get the ball rolling. And what we did was we had patriots from all across the country, and we emailed them lists of names. They'd record themselves remotely, submit the videos, and we're putting together a total video stream of reading off the names, which is going to stream tomorrow. And it will, you know, the link will be on our website, americastrongusa.org, and on America Strong USA News, our Facebook page. And people, we're going to get to honor these people.
Beautiful.
Because there shouldn't be 1 year that they're not honored and remembered.
Absolutely. PJ, we'll be right back. Let's talk more about that. Back a little bit with PJ Schrantz. All right, welcome back to the Wayne Allyn Root Show, the early edition. I'm Derek Uehara. Today we're joined by PJ Schrantz. Once again, if you're just tuning in New York City, they traditionally read off the names of the victims of 9/11. Mayor de Blasio has canceled that. PJ and his team have put together a replacement event. PJ, tell us more about that. This will be streaming tomorrow. Where can folks tune in?
Well, what I would suggest everyone do, they could go to americastrongusa.org. That's americastrongusa.org, or America Strong USA News on Facebook, America Strong USA News page on Facebook. The links will be there. The link will be available. We want it to be up and running at the exact time the first plane hit the North Tower. So that's when it's going to be readily available.
Okay, and what time is that?
I believe it's like 8:20 or 8:40 in the morning. I don't want to. I may be wrong, but it's right about that time.
Okay. So for us here,
and it's pre-recorded, so it's not like you're going to miss anything. So you could go back and watch it whenever you would like.
I see. Okay. So you have patriots from around the country reading this. How many names did each person read?
Well, let me tell you something. I started out thinking I was going to need 60 people to read 50 names, and then I was thinking to myself, how am I going to get 60 people? That's a lot of people. So before I knew it, on my Facebook, I have Democratic friends, I have Republican friends, and I'm like a day one Trump supporter. I mean, I'm part of the Trump-Pence motorcades. I mean, I'm day one, period. Everyone knows my views, but my Democrat friends know that I ran into burning buildings in a community of color as well. So, don't put us Trump supporters in a box.
Yes.
Okay, that's the bottom line. But anyway, just so you know, it took off. Not one of my Democratic friends requested to read names, and it's very sad. Not one Democratic politician, and believe me, I know a lot of them. But who did participate? For instance, I had Colonel Allyn West delivering the opening statement. Okay, naturally, it's followed because I'm God, family, country kind of guy. It's followed by a pastor, my pastor Ken Williams, doing a prayer, an opening prayer. Okay, then we have people like actor Robert Davi. We have Congressman Gohmert. We have actually, I heard you talk about the Trump boat parades. The founder of the Trump boat parades, Carlos Gavazdia, is one. Actor Tony LoBianco. We have at least 10 congressional candidates from around the country participating. We have We Back the Blue. All of these people read names, took the time, videotaped themselves, sent it back to us. And I wanted to, because I'm just a regular guy, and I know that our country, the working class, middle class, and all walks of life wanted to participate. So I have first responders, veterans, people that swing a hammer for a living. I have kids that did it, from doctors and nurses from all over the country, from lower class wealth-wise to extreme wealth-wise. And what the common thread is, I'm telling you right now, they all support our president. And they all support, they will never forget. It's all about unifying the country for me, brother. I mean, those families, 2,977, if we didn't do this, they would not be honored and remembered on a national level. So we need this to go viral. We absolutely do.
Absolutely. Well, we're doing our part, PJ. Let's back up to that. I heard you say twice, Trump from day one. Why did you support Donald Trump from day one?
Well, I'll put it to you real quick. I'm 57 years old. Growing up, I used to read the New York Post, and I'd start at the sports in the back, then I'd flip to the front. I'm just being serious.
Hey, I'm with you.
To the front, and I'd end up at page 6. It was called page 6.
Yes. And
countless times, I would read articles about Donald J. Trump doing this. Donald J. Trump being honored.
PJ, for folks who, unlike you and I, who know what the page 6 is all about, tell everyone what page 6 is.
Page 6 is like, page 6 editorial would be like everything that's the happening things going on in New York City.
Yes.
That was it. All your celebrities, the parties, the yada, 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 all of the award ceremonies and who did this. And I'm telling you right now, time and time again, I read Donald J. Trump, and he's getting honored by Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and all these people that hate him today. Okay? And I knew that he was a great businessman. I knew our country lacked in that department because politicians become politicians. They forget that they're there to serve we the people. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they know better than we the people. So I knew that I would love Donald J. Trump. I wanted him to be my president. I didn't know much about then Governor Mike Pence when Donald J. Trump said, I'm going to have Mike Pence as my running mate. I didn't know anything about him, so what I did was, because I had a top-secret FBI security clearance in the military, I got in touch with the White House EOP office, and I said I want to volunteer and do transport during one of these early rallies that then Governor Pence was going to be speaking at. And let me tell you something. You want to know this man's heart? I ended up driving a van with a bunch of guys that I didn't know. I'm not Secret Service, so I could yap it up. And it turns out that they were then Governor Pence's staff. So when we roll back to the airport, there's the Trump-Pence jet, all the Secret Service, everybody lined up, the SWAT teams, the motorcycles, the whole length. And the press goes onto the plane. Then staff goes onto the plane. Last person was Governor Mike Pence. He goes into the plane, and you have to wait till wheels are up, till they're in the air before we could all leave. And all of a sudden, the plane's not leaving. I'm going, I want to go home now. All of a sudden, Governor Pence comes down the steps again. Halfway down the steps, he points at me from across the tarmac. I go walking, I meet him in the tarmac. He held up the plane just to shake my hand to thank me for my service. He won me over. I knew the type of man he was at that very minute. We have the greatest president, the greatest vice president. Donald J. Trump has done so much for this country. He's not only got my vote, I am doing my best to grow the vote.
Love it. Now, PJ, I read something about something that happened at the RNC convention, right? That was videotaped?
Yeah.
Tell our listeners about that.
Well, I was in Cleveland during RNC week, not only supporting our future president, my president, but I was doing security this one day. It was the last day of the Republican National Convention, that Sunday, the day Donald J. Trump was accepting the nod on behalf of the Republican Party, and I was doing personal security for Kid Rock. He was doing a concert. So me and my friend Elaine Hackett, who's on Capitol Hill for 30 years, we were driving in my Hummer. We picked up a bunch of stuff for Kid Rock's green room. And when we were rolling back into the Jacob Pavilion where the concert was, somebody came running over to my Hummer and pointed up to the bridge and said, look, somebody's going to jump off the bridge. And I looked up, and there was a guy ready to jump off the bridge. So I literally threw my friend Elaine out the door of my Hummer. I sped back to where there was only one cop by the gate where you go in and out. All the other cops in the city, the state, they were all at the convention center. So I knew there would be the reaction time would be slow at best. And I said, listen, call this in. I'm going up there. And I was face-to-face with a homeless, drug-addicted veteran. And God changed my calling that day. And he told me he did 2 tours in Fallujah, and he felt empty and alone. And I told him I served in the Army as well. I told him I was a fireman, and he just wanted to die. And every time I got close to him, he said, I got this. And I want you to close your eyes and picture this guy that wanted to die, this hero. I finally said, I didn't know what to say to him. And I said, listen, brother, I said, I just lost my son. And my son had been gone for a while. But I said that anyway. And I said, and I could use a hug. All of a sudden, he forgot about wanting to die. And that hero held out his arms to give me a hug. And I pulled him down. And when I had him down, the funny part of the story, if there is one, I didn't know what to do with him. I said, I can't let go of him. He could jump right out. So I'm holding on tight. And I finally said, you want to meet Kid Rock? And he got in my Hummer, and we went down. And by that time, there was ambulance and everybody ready to take him away. But, it ended up getting videotaped from below, and it went on the Internet. And a few days later, I get an email with an invitation that says you are invited to be Donald J. Trump's personal guest to spend election night at Mar-a-Lago, his club in Palm Beach. And that showed me, once again, his heart, whether it was him, obviously someone from his inner circle, because there was only 270 people at the club that night because he needed 270 electoral. Oh, wow. Yeah, seriously. And they embraced me. The members of Mar-a-Lago embraced me. And I went there dressed as a yachty. I had my little bow tie trying to fit in. And as soon as I sat down, they made sure that I sat down in the tea room there. I sat at the table he would sit at, and they treated me like gold. And they said, one of the person, a member of Mar-a-Lago, to sit next to me, said, listen, everyone in here knows who you are and what you did, and we all want to thank you for that. And that was one of the best nights of my life. It's almost as good as when my 1986 Mets won a World Series. But when Trump won North Carolina, I literally stood up and started dancing in Mar-a-Lago. It was a wonderful night.
Amazing. PJ, it's incredible stuff here. We're going to take a break in a little bit. But when we come back, we want to finish up our last segment here. You know, if there's anything good that's come from 9/11, I think our country, certainly on the Republican side, we respect, we honor, we acknowledge our first responders. But I want you to share with us some insights about, what first responders go through and what more we, the public, can do to support them, for the incredible work they do to take care of us. Okay, so we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be back with PJ Schrantz. In the meantime, everyone, tomorrow, make sure you go to americastrongusa.org. You can watch the reading of names of the 2,977 victims. This is PJ's event to keep the memory alive, and that begins tomorrow. PJ, we'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from Las Vegas, this is the Wayne Allyn Root Show, the early edition. Now, more with more.
All right, welcome back to the Wayne Allyn Root Show, the early edition. It's Derek Uehara here, our special guest, PJ Schrantz. PJ, I'm a big believer in checklists. I think it helps us get things done. But I think I certainly don't want to put on the checklist simply saying, hey, did we do something for 9/11? Did we support our first responders? So right now, I want to finish up our last segment. Give us some insight. You're a former fireman. What first responders think about, and more importantly, what can we as the public do, beyond what is currently being done to really support them, let them know that we're behind them, we appreciate, what they're doing.
Well, in a nutshell, all first responders and everyone that joins our military, we do it because we want to serve. God has drawn us to serve. So it just, that comes naturally for us. What's today, because of the division within the country, the greatest thing that you could do is, everyone like myself now, I'm retired. My wife is sitting next to me and she's nodding her head. I'm telling you, I acknowledge when I pass a police officer, I always say, have a safe tour. It may sound insignificant, but I promise you, everyone who says thank you, because we want them to get home safe to their families. There's a lot of stresses involved, and if I could, 9/11, this tribute is not only for the 2,977 people, it's not only for our entire nation to never forget. We have to consider all of the people that joined our military because of the attacks on 9/11. All of the people, the men and women that have volunteered to go fight in the global war on terrorism. Okay, I'm a family member of Jason R. Workman. He was a member of SEAL Team 6. He was killed in Afghanistan, and he was killed on a helicopter called Extortion 17. 31 heroes were killed on that helicopter, that Chinook helicopter. And that took place 2 weeks after President Obama changed the rules of engagement. Did that cause it? I don't know, but if I was a betting man, I'd bet it was. But we need to acknowledge and honor and remember all of those. And the men and women who are fighting right now, as we speak, on foreign lands in the global war on terrorism. But when it comes to what we can do for them, actually, you want to know something? You can help us honor them. Because if you go to americastrongusa.org and take the wristband challenge, and you simple yellow wristband, and you gift one to a first responder, you're showing them that you care. And not only that, we help the charities that fund and do things for the first responders, for their families. You know what I mean? It's so easy. It's just so simple.
Okay. PJ, let me stop you right there. We will continue with that. But you mentioned your wife is sitting right next to you, and we want to take a moment here. How long have you been married?
Oh, we've been married only a few years. She is a brilliant-minded PhD. Her mission in life is she helps veterans that are battling PTSD and other issues.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? I know, this is a family affair. When the first responders out there, the family is supporting, the family deals with the other issues. So we want to thank your wife. Thank the doctor for us. And all the spouses out there who make it possible for the first responders to do their job. Let's talk about the charity and maybe give us some examples of how it's helping and some stories about the families.
Well, I'll tell you what. What we do is we have an affiliate program on americastrongusa.org, and we have these people. You wouldn't believe the people that are taking this challenge. I mean, like former heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield.
Oh yeah, the real deal.
The real deal. 5-time Super Bowl champion, 2 with the New York Giants, 3 with with the New England Patriots, Pepper Johnson. He was a linebacker with the New York Giants. We have NBA champion Mark Strickland of the Miami Heat. He won a title with LeBron. We have Bob Marley's band, the Wailers, have taken a challenge. And what we do is, because like Evander, he has a charity that fits in with our COVID-19 heroes. You know, his charity we have on our charity, on our website, so people can give directly to this. Any of those charities, they have a whole bunch of them. One of our dear friends is Darren Prince. Darren Prince is a mega Hollywood agent. His clients are like Magic Johnson for 25 years, and he's got it now. He is a perfect fit. His charity, Aiming High, helps people that are dealing with addiction and alcoholism. And during this COVID lockdown, all of those have risen through the roof. And Darren did that because he was Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier's agent, and during that time, he was addicted to opiates. Wow. Now he's sober for well over a decade, but he helps other people. See, this is the thing. Our country is the greatest, the most powerful country in the nation when it comes to love, charity, and freedom. And we need to protect that. And you know who protects it? Our military, our first responders, our police officers. So, you know, this is a great, great time to pull together. It's time to unite. Please go to americastrongusa.org. Take the challenge. Go to America Strong USA News Facebook page. Check out the links. Watch the tribute, the 9/11 tribute. Let's honor and give remembrance to all of our heroes.
Beautiful work. PJ, we thank you so much for joining us. Keep up the great work. You're making a great difference, and you are helping to spread the word and to unite our country. We appreciate all that you do.
Thank you, Derek. Much appreciated. You have a great day.
You bet. Thank you, PJ. That's PJ Schrantz. Again, go to the website, americastrongusa.org or America Strong USA News on Facebook. Tomorrow, they will have a reading of the names of all the victims, all 2,977 of them. Mayor de Blasio had canceled the traditional ceremony. PJ is not going to let the victims go forgotten. So people from throughout the country will be reading the names out. So check that out tomorrow. Locally, make sure you stay involved. A lot of good things are going on. Go to KeystoneNevada.com. Tuesday, October 6th, Karl Rove is a keynote speaker for the annual dinner. Tomorrow, Friday, September 11th, inaugural Young Professionals Network Burgers and Brews event. Go to KeystoneRSVP@gmail.com. And then, of course, NevadaRepublicanClub.com. Tuesday, October 6th, 11 to 1. They will have 3 Republican candidates for the Assembly speaking. They'll be at the Ahern Hotel and Convention Center. NevadaRepublicanClub.com. Enjoyed it. Mark, thanks so much. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next Thursday.